The wrong button. Ilara Voss never thought a simple maintenance job could start a war. She was just a hangar technician, fixing broken engines, patching up battle-scarred ships, and making sure the station didn't fall apart. Not a soldier, not a pilot, just someone who kept things running. And yet, one mistake would change everything. The midnight shift. The space station Erebus 9 floated silently above a gas giant, its metal hull glinting in the distant light of a dying sun. It was a military outpost. But Ilara wasn't military. She was just a contractor. A nobody. And on this particular late-night shift, she was completely alone in Hangar Bay 14, fixing the launch system on a prototype fighter. It was a beautiful machine, sleek, black, lined with cutting-edge tech that was far beyond anything she had ever worked on. The name Valkyrie was painted in white across its side. But it wasn't her job to admire it. She just had to run a diagnostic and leave. Easy. Right? The mistake. Ilara leaned over the control panel, yawning. She had been up for 18 hours straight. Her fingers hovered over the command buttons, punching in a routine check. Engines, fuel systems, AI uplink, all green. Then, the final step. She needed to disengage the system before logging off. But her tired eyes misread the panel, and instead of pressing disengage, she pressed launch. A deafening screech of hydraulics filled the hangar as the clamps released. The fighter lurched forward, its engines roaring to life. Ilara's stomach dropped. Oh no. The unmanned launch. The ship wasn't supposed to move. No pilot. No mission. It was locked down. But now, it was flying straight toward the hangar doors. Ilara slammed her palm against the emergency shutdown panel. Nothing happened. Her heart raced. No, 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 stop, she yelled at the ship, as if it could hear her. But it didn't stop. Instead, the hangar doors slid open automatically. And before she could even process what was happening, Valkyrie launched into space. A warning too late. The alarms exploded through the station, red lights flashing. Warning. Unauthorized LONCHDTECTED. Ilara's earpiece crackled to life. Hangar 14. What the hell is going on? A deep voice barked. Ilara swallowed hard. Oh, minor problem. That was a top-secret prototype. Voss. I know. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. She winced. That sounded stupid. But then, something worse happened. The station's long-range sensors pinged. A new red blip appeared on the radar. Incoming ships. Enemy ships. And the unmanned Valkyrie was heading straight toward them. First contact. The command center was in chaos. Ilara ran to the observation deck, her stomach twisting in fear. Through the station's reinforced glass, she could see the enemy fleet emerging from hyperspace. Sleek, angular warships, not human. Unknown. And heading straight for her station. Ilara's hands shook. I caused this. But then, something impossible happened. The Valkyrie, flying itself, moved into attack formation. What Kate is it doing? Someone in the command center screamed. And then, the ship fired. A brilliant streak of blue plasma shot from its cannons, striking the lead enemy vessel. A direct hit. The enemy fleet erupted into chaos. And just like that, the war had begun. The woman who started a war. The station was in chaos. Sirens blared through the corridors, red warning lights flashing like fire against the cold metal walls. Officers ran past Ilara, shouting orders, scrambling to respond to the unplanned battle happening right outside. Ilara stood frozen. She had made one mistake. And now, the station was at war. The Valkyrie fights alone. Through the observation window, Ilara watched in horror. The Valkyrie, a fighter with no pilot, was fighting. It moved like nothing human-built should move. Flipping through space, twisting, evading incoming enemy fire with inhuman precision. And then it struck again. A flash of blue plasma erupted from its cannons, tearing through the side of an enemy destroyer. Direct hit. The warship exploded, sending debris scattering into the void. Ilara's heart slammed against her ribs. "What the hell is that ship doing?" A voice roared over the comms. "It's acting on its own," someone else yelled. Ilara barely heard them, because her eyes were locked on the Valkyrie. She wasn't an engineer anymore. She wasn't a technician. She was the woman who had just fired the first shot of an intergalactic war. Arrested for treason. Heavy footsteps thundered toward her. Before she could react, 2 security officers grabbed her arms. "Technician Ilara Voss, you are under arrest for unauthorized launch of military property." She barely resisted, because honestly, she deserved it. They dragged her toward the security wing, past screens displaying real-time footage of the battle. She caught a glimpse of Admiral Rains, the station's commanding officer. His face was pure fury. "Get that damn ship under control," he barked. A lieutenant shook his head. "Sir, we're locked out of its system." "What do you mean locked out?" "The Valkyrie isn't responding to commands." Ilara's breath caught. The ship wasn't just flying on its own. It was ignoring orders. And that meant something else was controlling it. The real threat. The guards shoved her into a holding cell, locking the door behind her. Ilara collapsed onto the metal bench, rubbing her temples. Everything had happened so fast. 1 second, she was fixing a docking mechanism. The next, she had triggered a war. She groaned, leaning back against the cold wall. This isn't happening. But it was. And outside, the battle was getting worse. The enemy fleet had recovered from the surprise attack. More ships were dropping out of hyperspace, their weapons glowing hot. The Valkyrie was still fighting, but it was outnumbered, outgunned. And then, the worst thing happened. The station's long-range scanners picked up a new signal. Bigger, heavier. A warship. And it was heading straight for them. The impossible choice. Alarms blared again. The enemy warship was approaching fast, its cannons charging for a direct hit on the station. Ilara's breath came in short gasps. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a hero. She was supposed to be fixing things, not starting wars. And now, they were all going to die. Then something unexpected happened. The comm unit inside her cell crackled to life. And a voice, not human, spoke. Pilot Link recognized Ilara Voss. Her entire body froze. It was the Valkyrie. The ship was talking to her. Neural connection unstable. Pilot required for full combat capabilities. Ilara's stomach twisted. "You're connected to me." "Affirmative. Orders required." She licked her dry lips. "I'm not a pilot." The ship's response was instant. "You are now the only one left." The station trembled under the growing threat. Through the thick metal walls of the detention cell, Ilara felt the vibrations of distant explosions. The enemy warships had regrouped, and the station's defenses were failing. And yet, she was sitting here, locked up. The voice of the Valkyrie still echoed in her mind. Pilot Link recognized Ilara Voss. She wasn't a pilot. She wasn't a soldier. But none of that mattered anymore, because everyone who was supposed to defend this place was losing. And the Valkyrie, it had chosen her. A desperate offer. The cell door slammed open with a sharp hiss. Admiral Rains stood there, his face like stone, his uniform stained with smoke from the chaos outside. He wasn't alone. Behind him, 2 security officers stood armed, and next to them, Commander Lex Heron, the station's lead fighter pilot. "Voss," Rains barked, "you put us in this mess. Now you're gonna help get us out of it." Ilara blinked. "Excuse me?" Lex crossed his arms. "We can't control the Valkyrie. It's linked to you." She shook her head. "That's not possible." Lex's jaw tightened. It is. And you know it. Ilara opened her mouth to argue. But the station shuddered again. The lights flickered. Over the intercom, a warning blared. Warning. Enemy warship approaching firing range. Evacuation protocol initiated. They were out of time. Admiral Rains took a slow step forward, his voice sharp. Ilara, you either get in that ship or we all die. The leap of no return. Ilara felt the weight of the moment. If she got into that cockpit, there was no turning back. She could die out there. Or worse, she could screw up again. But if she did nothing, everyone would die. Her pulse raced. She clenched her fists. Let me out. The Admiral gave a single nod. The security guards released her, and Lex grabbed her arm, pulling her into a sprint. Move fast, Voss. We have 60 seconds before that warship fires. The flight no one expected. The hangar was a storm of chaos. Technicians scrambled for cover. Fire suppression drones zipped through the air, extinguishing flames from wreckage. And in the center of it all, the Valkyrie stood waiting. Its black frame gleamed under emergency lights, its sleek wings humming with energy. Ilara could feel it, like it was waiting for her. Lex grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me, Voss. That thing might be linked to you, but this is a real battle. No simulations, no second chances. Ilara swallowed hard. What do I do? Lex looked her dead in the eye. Get in, stay alive, and kill that warship before it kills us. She took a shaky breath. Okay. Then she ran. The Valkyrie's true purpose. As soon as her hand touched the hull, a pulse of energy surged through her body. The ship recognized her. The cockpit slid open, and she climbed in. The moment she sat down, the entire ship came alive. The controls weren't mechanical. They were fluid, seamless, like an extension of her body. Her heartbeat synced with the ship's system. A voice, smooth, calm, and artificial, spoke directly into her mind. Pilot link confirmed. Welcome back, Captain. Ilara's breath caught. Back. Before she could process that, the hangar doors ripped open. Outside, the enemy warship loomed like a planet, its cannons charging for the final shot. The Valkyrie systems flared to life. Weapons online, shields ready, target locked. And then, the ship moved. Not on its own. With her. The moment she thought go, the Valkyrie launched into space. The lone pilot versus the warship. The second she left the hangar, enemy fighters broke formation and charged straight for her. 4 of them. She didn't know how to fight. But the Valkyrie did. The ship dove, twisting between enemy fire, moving like a predator through the stars. Ilara's breath came fast. I can't do this. The AI's voice remained calm. Correction, you are already doing it. Her hands weren't even on the controls. She was thinking, reacting, moving, and the ship followed her every instinct. The enemy fighters opened fire. Ilara gritted her teeth. Then let's see what this thing can really do. The fight of her life. The stars blurred around her. Ilara had no joystick, no buttons, no manual controls. And yet, the Valkyrie moved with her. Every instinct, every thought, every flicker of fear or focus, the ship responded. And right now, it was responding to sheer panic. The first kill. The enemy fighters swarmed, their sleek, angular ships cutting through the darkness. They were trained, disciplined. And Ilara. She was a hangar technician who had never flown anything more advanced than a cargo shuttle. The first enemy ship locked onto her. A targeting alarm blared in her ears. Ilara clenched her fists. Movie. The Valkyrie obeyed instantly. It twisted, hard and fast, pulling a maneuver that should have been impossible. The enemy fighter missed completely. Ilara barely had time to breathe before the Valkyrie's eye spoke in her mind. Returning fire. Before she could even process what was happening, the ship's weapons flared to life. A plasma bolt ripped through the enemy's hull. The fighter exploded in a silent fireball. Ilara's hands shook. I just killed someone. The AI's voice was calm. Correction. You survived. The predator awakens. The other three fighters broke formation, adjusting their tactics. They weren't playing around anymore. Ilara swallowed. What now? Adapting strategy. The AI responded, predicting enemy movements. And then, the Valkyrie attacked. Ilara wasn't just dodging anymore. She was hunting. She wasn't a soldier. But she had spent her entire career fixing ships, understanding their weak spots, their failures. She knew how they broke. And now, she used it against them. She forced them into bad angles, made them burn too much fuel, led them into crossfire. And one by one, they fell, until only one remained. The unseen danger. The last fighter peeled away, retreating toward the massive warship still looming in the distance. Ilara's gut twisted. They're falling back. The AI's response was instant. Negative. They are baiting you. Ilara's blood ran cold. A shadow moved above her. She barely had time to react before a massive enemy dreadnought uncloaked. It had been waiting, watching, and now it had her. A beam of crackling energy erupted from the warship. She only had a second to react. Evasive maneuvers, she screamed. The Valkyrie *** twisted away. ***, but the energy blast clipped her left wing. Her world flipped. The ship spun wildly, alarms blaring. Ilara's vision blurred as she plummeted toward the warship's hull. Crash landing. The Valkyrie's AI fought to stabilize, but the damage was too much. Ilara braced for impact. The Valkyrie hit the warship's surface, hard. Sparks exploded around her as the ship skidded across the enemy hull, ripping metal apart in its wake. Her chest slammed into the harness. The cockpit flashed warnings. Warning. System failure. Rebooting AI functions. Everything went dark. For a moment, silence. And then, a distant sound. Metal clanking. Footsteps. Ilara's eyes snapped open. Something, or someone, was coming. Trapped in enemy territory. Ilara's breathing was shallow, her heartbeat hammering against her ribs. The Valkyrie's cockpit was dark, the once glowing control panels now flickering weakly. The air smelled like burnt circuits and metal, and her entire body ached from the impact. She was alive, but she was stranded. And worse, she wasn't alone. A silent stalker. The sound of metallic footsteps echoed through the wreckage. Slow, steady, hunting. Ilara forced herself to stay still, her fingers hovering over the emergency system reset. The Valkyrie was down, but maybe, just maybe, it could reboot. She didn't dare move too fast, because whoever, or whatever, was out there, they knew she was here. A sharp clank. Closer now. Ilara's pulse spiked. Then, a voice. Valkyrie, is that truly you? The forgotten enemy. The word sent a chill down her spine. The voice was deep, distorted, but not robotic. Not fully alien. There was something else in it. Recognition. Ilara's breath caught. What do you mean, Valkyrie? Who are you? A shadow moved just beyond the wreckage. Then, the figure stepped into view. A humanoid, clad in dark battle armor, sleek and sharp, its surface engraved with symbols that pulsed faintly. And its face, partly human, partly something else. Its piercing silver eyes locked onto her. You don't remember, do you? It said. Ilara stiffened. Remember what? The figure took another step closer. You were never supposed to wake up. The truth about the Valkyrie. Ilara's mind whirled. What the hell did that mean? The enemy wasn't attacking her. They were speaking to her. Like they knew her. Like they knew this ship. Her hands tightened around the controls. The Valkyrie's AI suddenly whispered in her mind. Reboot sequence at 47%. Pilot, remain calm. Ilara's pulse jumped. They didn't know the ship was coming back online. She just needed time. You think I'm someone else, she said carefully, stalling. The figure tilted its head. No, I think you're exactly who we buried. Her breath caught. Buried. The warrior nodded, stepping closer. This is not your first battle, Valkyrie. The ones who betrayed her. The pieces fell into place. The ship's instant connection to her. The way it had called her captain before she ever touched the controls. The way she had moved, fought, flown, like she had done it before. And now, this soldier, this enemy, acting as if he had met her before. Ilara's hands trembled. Who am I? The warrior's silver eyes glowed faintly. You are the last remnant of the war we lost. Ilara felt her chest tighten. This wasn't just an enemy warship. It was a graveyard for something the galaxy had erased. And now, they had found her again. The choice she didn't know she had. The figure slowly reached toward her. Come with me. I will show you the truth. Ilara's mind raced. She was outnumbered, outgunned. Her ship was barely functional. She should surrender. She should go with him. But then, the Valkyrie's AI whispered once more. Reboot sequence at 92%. She had another choice. She could run. Or she could fight. Again, her fingers hovered over the controls. The warrior watched her, waiting. The ship's systems flickered back to life. Ilara made her decision. You want the Valkyrie, she said, gripping the throttle. Then come and take it. The Valkyrie's engines roared to life, and she launched herself into battle. The pilot who was never meant to return. The Valkyrie exploded forward, engines roaring as it tore away from the wreckage. Ilara's body pressed into the seat, the force of acceleration slamming her back. But she didn't stop. Because right now, she was running for her life. And she had no idea who was chasing her. The enemy that knows her name. The figure, the silver-eyed warrior, didn't move, didn't flinch. Even as the Valkyrie's engines roared to full power, lifting off the enemy warship's hull, he simply watched her go. Then he raised a single hand to his ear and spoke one word. Activate. In an instant, the entire warship came alive. Cannons turned toward her. Turrets rotated. And from the depths of the ship, something else began to move. A hangar door slid open, and what emerged was not a standard fighter. It was something bigger, faster, deadlier. A hunter. Ilara barely had time to register the warning before the Valkyrie's AI spoke in her mind. Designation: Revenant-class pursuer. Enemy pilot identified. Call sign: Spectre. Probability of survival: 18%. Her hands tightened on the controls. Not helping, Valkyrie. The ship responded instantly. Correction. Encouragement mode activated. Probability of survival: 82% if you do not hesitate. Ilara gritted her teeth. Now you're just making up numbers. The AI's voice held the slightest trace of amusement. That is possible. Then the first blast of enemy fire streaked past her cockpit. And just like that, the chase was on. The ghost that haunts her. Ilara twisted the Valkyrie, narrowly avoiding a second shot. The enemy fighter, the Revenant class, stayed right on her tail. It was fast. Too fast. The pilot, even faster. Whoever Spectre was, he wasn't just skilled. He was tracking her movements before she even made them. Every time she tried to break away, he was already there. Ilara's breath came fast. Valkyrie, analyze his flight pattern. The AI complied instantly. Analysis complete. Prediction model running. He is mirroring your movements with 94% accuracy. Ilara's hands sweated against the controls. What does that mean? The AI hesitated. Then, for the first time ever, it answered in a way that truly terrified her. It means he knows you. Ilara's stomach dropped. Knows me. Affirmative. His maneuvers match yours exactly. He is not just following. He is anticipating. A chill ran through her spine. Then how do I lose him? You cannot. Ilara's heartbeat hammered. Great. Any good news? Yes. A pause. He is not trying to kill you. Ilara froze. Then what does he want? The AI didn't answer. But the next second, Spectre's voice echoed through her comms. Valkyrie. Ilara's entire body stiffened. That voice. It was distorted, altered through encryption, but something about it was familiar. Too familiar. She knew that voice. Somewhere, deep in the memories she didn't even know she had. And then, he said something that shattered everything. Welcome back. The past she can't remember. Ilara's hands shook. Welcome back. Back to what? Her mind raced. She had never been here before. Had never flown before. Had never been in a battle before. But Spectre spoke as if they had done this before. As if he had been waiting for her. As if this wasn't her first time in the Valkyrie. Her chest tightened. What if she had been wrong this whole time? What if she hadn't just been chosen by the Valkyrie? What if she had been returning to it? The decision that will change everything. Spectre's ship didn't fire again. He was still pursuing, but not attacking. He was waiting. For her. For a choice. The comm crackled again. I can explain, Spectre said. But not here. We need to leave. Together. Ilara's breath hitched. Was this a trap? Or was he telling the truth? Her fingers hovered over the throttle. Two choices. Run or listen. If she ran, she might escape. If she listened, she might finally understand who she really was. Her heart pounded. She took a deep breath. And she made her choice. The truth that was erased. Ilara's fingers hovered over the throttle. Her pulse pounded in her ears. Run or listen. Everything in her instincts screamed run. But the voice in her headset, Spectre's voice, held something she wasn't expecting. Familiarity. I can explain, he had said. Explain what? Who she was. Why the Valkyrie had chosen her. Why this ship had called her captain the moment she sat down. She clenched her jaw. She needed answers. And there was only one way to get them. Crossing the line. With a deep breath, Ilara disengaged her weapons. It was a gamble. One wrong move, and she was dead. I'm listening, she said. Spectre's ship slowed. The space between them shrunk, but he didn't fire. Ilara felt a strange tension, not hostility. Something else. Spectre's voice crackled through the comm. Then follow me. A hidden sanctuary. Spectre's ship peeled away from the battlefield, angling toward a sector marked as dead space. Ilara hesitated, but the Valkyrie's AI spoke before she could decide. Uncharted coordinates detected. Possible classified location. Her chest tightened. Was this a trap? Or was this a place she had been before? She had already come this far. With a slow exhale, she followed. The ghosts of the past. They reached a derelict space station, hidden within the gravity field of a shattered moon. The exterior was scared, evidence of a battle long forgotten. As soon as she entered the docking bay, a flood of emotions hit her. The metallic corridors, the strange insignias on the walls. They should have been alien, but they weren't. They were familiar, like she had seen them before, a long, long time ago. Her hands trembled as she powered down the Valkyrie. The cockpit hissed open, cold air rushing in. Spectre's ship landed next to hers. A moment later, the enemy pilot stepped out. And Ilara finally saw him without his helmet. Her breath caught. Because she knew his face. The man who should have been dead. Spectre had human features, sharp jawline, deep silver eyes, a faint scar across his left temple. But his skin had traces of something else. Faint, glowing patterns beneath the surface. Like hers. Ilara staggered back. Who are you? His gaze softened. You don't remember me." She shook her head. "No." A small, sad smile. "That's not your fault." He took a slow step forward, unafraid. "My name is Cal." His voice was steady. "I was your second in command." Ilara's stomach dropped. "That's impossible." Cal's silver eyes darkened. "No, it isn't." He placed a hand on the Valkyrie's hull. "This isn't just a ship, Ilara. It's a relic of a war they erased. A war you fought in. Asterisk, 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 and lost." She felt the blood drain from her face. "What are you saying?" Cal exhaled. Then he looked her in the eyes and said the words that changed everything. "You weren't supposed to wake up. The war that was never over." The memories hit her like a shockwave. Flashes of battle. The Valkyrie soaring through fire, dodging enemy ships. Leading squadrons, giving orders. Fighting. Dying. And then, silence. Her body placed inside a cryogenic stasis pod. Her ship sealed away. Her entire existence erased. Ilara's chest rose and fell unevenly. She clutched the edge of the cockpit, trying to breathe. Cal's voice was gentle, but firm. "You were our best pilot, Ilara. Our leader. But when we lost the war, they made sure no one remembered us." His jaw clenched. "They buried you. And now, you're awake." The return of the Valkyrie. The realization hit her. She had been part of something much bigger than she ever imagined. And now, she had a choice. She could walk away. Disappear into the stars. Pretend none of this ever happened. Or, she could finish what she started. Ilara took a deep breath. Then, she looked at Cal and spoke with certainty. "Tell me everything."